in the loading screen, a tip says all cards are created equal. With over 120 cards in Clash Royale, the game is supposed to promote diverse strategies. However, a big part of the choices you have are irrelevant. To understand this, we will look at the top decks in Clash Royale. 2.8 Log Bait, Rocket Cycle, Wall Breakers Cycle, Evo Mortar, Evo Skeleton Barrel Cycle, Log Bait, X-Bow Cycle, Hog EQ, and Classic Log Bait. If you're a clear observer, you'd notice a pattern in these decks. They lack the evolution subscribe button. Seriously guys, it's only one elixir. There isn't a single hint of a beatdown deck. It seems like Clash Royale nowadays is just spam simulator where the whole point is to outcycle your opponent's defenses or defensive cards. It even got to the point where 2.4 and 1.9 cycle decks are actually making it to the meta, something that we thought was impossible. And this goes for many reasons. Number 1, Clash Royale's vision. After the 2016 infancy phase of Clash Royale, they finally found out what they wanted to become. A fast-paced game where slow and clunkiness should never make it to the meta. It even got to the point where the moment a beatdown the card becomes good, they would immediately butcher it. Cards that would cause the game to become slow and defensive would never make it to the meta, including poor Huntington, and these cards are still suffering to this day. For example, the Night Witch has a terrible 3% usage rates, and same for the Elixir Golem. I believe it should stay this way. We have the Elixir Pump at 2%, and even the Golem with the Sneaky Golem meme has a terrible 2% usage rate. Meanwhile, in another universe, Hog Rider, Firecracker, Fireball are having phenomenal usage rates, and that's why the Log and Arrows are popular, and some other cycle cards. Why do you think the Dagger Duchess has a 12% usage rate, the second best tower troop? The average pro Clash Royale YouTuber sees Cannoneer and jumps with pure euphoria and joy, but the moment they see that Dagger Duchess, they want to rage and even kidnap the opponent to harass them. And Clash Royale did not fail at making its vision a reality, because nowadays, cycle decks and cycle cards always thrive because of their spammy nature, and beatdown cards, being all slow and expensive and clunky, are way too risky in this meta, because if you play a golem in the back, your opponent will spam you with evolved goblin barrels and wall breakers and flippin' goblin gang, and you wouldn't have the elixir to defend, making beatdown an extremely slow and outdated deck for the current meta, or the state of the game in general. In fact, we have YouTubers nowadays resisting and trying to prove that cards that are in some wacky cycle thing can actually have a chance in the meta. And the best thing that synergizes with cycling is number 2, evolutions. The best evolutions at the moment are either cycle cards or ones that synergize with them. In fact, they mostly appear at the S or A tier, while the beatdown evolutions, well, they're just left to rot in the dust, because the very concept of evolutions is about cycling. Even if you hear cards from like 4 elixir and above have 1 cycle, and from 3 elixir and less have 1 cycle to make things balanced, it is actually not. Cycle decks are based around cycling, and you just play a card a lot of times so you can get its evolution so many times in the match, while beatdown you're just stuck with an extremely clunky deck. And since most evolutions nowadays are broken, it's just that the cycle player gets to abuse the broken evolution even more than the beatdown player can. And there's also this popular saying of new evolution, new beatdown counter, like Executioner, Inferno Dragon, so that only makes beatdown suffer even more. And those evolutions that are meant to counter beatdown, sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not, but most cycle card evolutions are just automatically the best because of, you know, Clash Royale's vision of a fast-paced game. And now for the final reason why beatdown is so irrelevant right nowadays is the imbalance between the archetypes themselves. For Cycle, you play a lot of cards because you spend less elixir on them, so you have more decisions. And more decisions, while it means more chances of making mistakes, it also means more outplay potential. Whereas for Beatdown, you make less decisions, which is why it appeals for mid-ladder, but you just have less outplay potential. You put a card and you just put it. You can't really play anything afterwards. You put one card every 10 seconds, while the Cycle player might even go as far as flipping 2 cards a second in triple elixir. However, there is one deck that managed to survive this Cycle deck apocalypse. Evo P.E.K.K.A, Evo Goblin Giant, Goblin Machine deck.
demolition. 아 젠장! 저거 설마 억까 겁나 당했던.
안녕하세요.
그래 바로 이 덱이야. 아!
The single most disgusting deck ever created is officially here.
This deck gained a lot of tractions ever since the past few months due to the brain rot playstyle of the deck. Place Goblin, Giant, and P.E.K.K.A to cycle through their evolutions, then make a giant push, including Goblin Machine. And the best thing about the deck is that it has Goblin Curse and Arrows or Rage, and Goblin Machine and Bomber for splash damage to counter all the annoying Cycle cards, while the beatdown push ends up being too overwhelming to stop. However, other than this deck, all the iconic beatdown decks are officially dead, notably due to the evolutions that promote cycling, or fit better with Cycle, or the vision of Clash Royale, or just the imbalance between the two archetypes. So now I forward the question to you. Would you rather a beatdown meta where all you have to do is place a single big push, or stay in this current Cycle meta where all you have to do is cycle the new broken evolution? Comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.